I woke up to the sound of my sister crying in the dark. Her sobs were muffled, like she was pressing her face into her pillow to hide them. At first, I thought she was having a bad dream, but then I heard another sound, heavy breathing that didn't belong to her. My heart froze. I knew that sound. It was Uncle Jide. For a moment, I couldn't move. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I was hearing. My sister's voice broke through the silence, trembling and soft. "Please stop, Uncle. Please." I wanted to scream, to jump up and protect her, but fear gripped me. Uncle Jide was an adult. He was family. Who would believe me if I accused him of something terrible? I clenched my fist under the covers, trying to decide what to do. It all started a month earlier, when Uncle Jide moved in with us. He was my dad's younger brother, the golden child of the family. Everyone adored him. My dad called him Jide the Great because he had always been full of charm and ambition. He came to our small village to get back on his feet after losing his job in the city. My parents welcomed him with open arms. "Family takes care of family," my mom said as she cleared out the spare room for him. My dad agreed, smiling proudly. "Blood is thicker than water. We help our own." At first, it felt like a blessing to have him around. He brought gifts for me and my younger sister, Tola. Sweets, colorful bracelets, and little toys we'd never seen before. He told the best stories by the fire at night, weaving tales of trickster animals and brave warriors. He made us laugh until our stomachs hurt. Tola and I loved having him there. We trusted him. But looking back, there were signs, small things that didn't feel right. The way his eyes lingered on Tola a little too long when she played with her doll. The way he insisted on helping her with chores, even when she didn't need help. "She's like my own daughter," he'd say, smiling. My parents thought it was sweet. I thought it was strange, but I kept quiet. Who was I to question an adult? The first real moment of unease came one evening when I was playing outside with my friends. Tola stayed behind, saying she had a stomachache. I didn't think much of it until later that night, when I noticed she was unusually quiet. She wouldn't look anyone in the eye, and when I asked her what was wrong, she just shook her head. "Are you okay?" I pressed. "I'm fine," she mumbled, but her voice cracked. I wanted to believe her, but something felt off. Tola was always bubbly, always laughing. This wasn't like her. The days passed, and she grew quieter. Uncle Jide, on the other hand, seemed to be everywhere. He'd ruffle my hair, call me his little lion, and ask if I wanted to help him with errands. But whenever he spoke to Tola, she would shrink away, avoiding his gaze. I noticed, but I didn't say anything. I told myself I was imagining things. After all, he was family. He wouldn't hurt us. Would he? Then came the night that changed everything. I had been restless, tossing and turning in my bed. That's when I heard her crying. When I heard him breathing. I stayed awake, listening, frozen with fear. My heart was pounding so loudly I thought it would wake the whole house. The next morning, Uncle Jide acted like nothing had happened. He smiled at me, patted Tola on the head, and told my mom he'd take us to the market later. Tola didn't say a word. She just stared at the floor, clutching her doll. I tried to tell my mom that something was wrong. "Tola's been acting strange," I said. "I think Uncle Jide," but before I could finish, she cut me off. "What are you saying? Uncle Jide loves you and Tola like his own children. Don't say such things." "But, enough, Ode. Respect your elders." I bit my tongue. If my own mother wouldn't listen, who would? I felt helpless. But I couldn't ignore what I'd heard. I couldn't let it happen again. The next night, I stayed awake on purpose. I kept my eyes shut, pretending to be asleep, but my ears were wide open. When I heard the creak of his footsteps, my heart started racing. He was going to her bed again. I waited until I was sure, then I screamed. I screamed as loud as I could, shaking the whole house. My parents came rushing in, confused and angry. Uncle Jide tried to laugh it off, saying I must have had a nightmare. But I stood my ground. Check his hands. He was touching her. I yelled. My dad's face darkened. My mom looked at me like I'd lost my mind. What are you talking about? She demanded. That's when Tola spoke up. Her voice was small, trembling, but she said the words that broke my parents' hearts. He comes into my bed at night. I'll never forget the look on their faces. My mom started crying, and my dad just stood there, frozen. Uncle Jide tried to deny it, but the truth was out. They sent him away that night, but it didn't feel like a victory. The damage was already done. Tola never smiled the same way again. She stopped playing with her doll. I stopped trusting adults, even my parents. How could they not see what was happening? How could they let him into our home? Now, as an adult, I tell this story because I want parents to learn from what happened to us. Trust is important, but vigilance is everything. It's not enough to assume your child is safe just because someone is family or seems kind. Watch closely. Listen to your children. And most importantly, believe them. The lesson I learned is simple. Being a good parent means protecting your child at all costs, even if it means questioning those closest to you. Because trust can be broken, but vigilance can save a life.